Hello, my name is Alma Hopkins, and on September 11th, 2008, I suffered a massive heart attack in the emergency room at St. Vincent's Medical Center, Riverside. Miraculously, I survived. Although women are routinely told that heart attack symptoms are different for us than they are for men, most women still do not recognize them. After listening to my speech, you should know that women's intuition is a key factor in recognizing heart attack symptoms, and you should know when to seek medical attention. First, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. A sense of impending doom is an actual symptom of a medical disorder. If your intuition tells you something is seriously wrong, trust yourself. According to the Mayo Clinic, for some people, anxiety signs and symptoms are the first indicators of a medical illness. Like many women, I failed to recognize the onset of my symptoms, and I did not trust my intuition. On an ordinary Thursday afternoon, I'd been experiencing some unusual symptoms for about a week. I started to suspect that something was seriously wrong. So I Googled heart attacks in women. I saw the symptoms, but I was still suspicious that it couldn't possibly be that bad. So I called all the medical professionals I knew, and I asked them if they thought they were having a heart attack, what hospital would they go to? The unanimous decision was St. Vincent's Riverside, but no one seemed to think that I was having a heart attack. My symptoms did not last nearly as long as the internet advised were symptomatic of a heart attack, but they were coming closer together. So later that afternoon, while my son was auditioning for the Nutcracker, I experienced another bout of symptoms. When my 13-year-old son came out from his audition, I told him that we were going to go to the emergency room, that I wasn't feeling well, and I wanted him to come hold my purse and call his dad while I saw the doctor. So we got in the car, we left Douglas Anderson School of the Arts, and we drove the short distance to St. Vincent's Riverside. When I arrived at the ER, I had a massive panic attack. I started to cry as I explained my fears, and they were very kind. They took me to the back, and they scheduled me for an EKG. My son called my husband, and after he arrived, I told him to take my son home because it's probably nothing. I was just going to stay to be checked out just to be sure. Shortly after he left, I had the EKG. Something was not right and needed further evaluation. So they took me to another room to wait while a radiologist and the cardiologist looked at the EKG. And that's when everything changed. I had a massive heart attack. It was just like television. I heard the words "code blue," and next thing I knew, I'm chewing baby aspirin, I'm getting an IV, and I'm being wheeled into a room. Once they got me stabilized, I was told that I would be receiving a heart catheter to see what was going on, and that it was a surgical procedure, so I would be asleep during the procedure. So a few hours passed in the emergency room. I watched endless episodes of The Nanny on TV. I think it was a nanny marathon. Finally, they wheeled me into a room, put me to sleep. And when I woke up, my entire family was there. My parents, my husband, both my children, and all of my local siblings. I was 49 years old and staring in the face of death. The cardiologist came in. He informed me that I needed open heart surgery. My survival rested in the hands of a surgeon who would perform a triple bypass. They would take veins out of my legs and use them to bypass the main artery of my heart because it was clogged with plaque due to coronary artery disease, which I had no idea that I had. I asked about alternatives. The cardiologist said, "You can go home and wait for your children to find you dead in the shower." So then I was like, "Can I have the surgery right away? Can we do it immediately?" But the cardiologist told me that I had to wait 3 days because the blood thinners they had given me in the emergency room would cause me to bleed to death if they weren't allowed to work their way out of my system. And so my surgery was scheduled for the upcoming Monday. I spent a couple days in the hospital where I worried a great deal, prayed a great deal. But come Monday, I had the surgery, and fortunately for me, it was a success. I am about to celebrate my 9-year anniversary. During those 9 years, I have changed my diet, I have increased my daily activity level, and I have lost over 50 pounds. I'm proud to say that I do not require daily prescription medication, and I do feel better now than I have in years. So, what were those symptoms that brought me to the emergency room that day? First of all, feeling tired. Getting older does not mean feeling tired. Just because we're getting older, it does not mean we should feel worse. I just assumed my shortness of breath and fatigue were due to weight gain and getting older. After all, I'm almost 50, right? This is normal aging. Wrong. According to the National Institute on Aging, feeling fatigued can be like an alarm going off in your body. It may be the first sign that something is wrong. Getting older does not mean getting tired. Secondly, I was experiencing shortness of breath. Shortness of breath is simply not normal at any age. The Mayo Clinic says that most cases of shortness of breath are due to heart or lung conditions. Your heart and lungs are involved in transporting oxygen to your tissues, and they also remove carbon dioxide. And problems with either of these processes affects your breathing. Besides experiencing fatigue and shortness of breath during activities I've been doing for years, I was also experiencing some other unusual changes in my body. I was experiencing constriction in my throat immediately following physical activity. It felt like I had been yelling at a ball game or singing loudly for a long time. The Australian Heart Foundation warns that during a heart attack, a woman may have a choking feeling in her throat. And finally, the symptom that triggered a memory of having heard somewhere that it could be related to a heart attack was pain in my jaw. After about a week of noticing shortness of breath, tightness in my throat, and feeling very tired, my jaw began to ache. The American Heart Association tells us that there are 4 silent symptoms of heart attacks in women: shortness of breath, jaw pain, feeling tired, and backache, which was the only symptom I did not experience. But I brought this on myself. All of this could have been avoided. As a children's dance teacher, I was fairly physically active, but I had gradually gained quite a bit of weight, going from about 118 pounds at age 19 to about 225 pounds at age 49. I'm nearly 6 feet tall, so wearing a 14-16 was not considered morbidly obese, but I knew that I had gained a lot of weight and that I wasn't taking care of myself. Heart disease is a progressive illness. It can start at any age, and it can be prevented as well as reversed by making healthy lifestyle changes. The American Heart Association touts preventing heart disease and all cardiovascular diseases means making smart choices now that will pay off for the rest of your life. Lack of exercise, a poor diet, or other unhealthy habits can take their toll over the years. And yes, I had been a smoker when I was much younger. If you want to prevent heart disease, you need to start by eating a heart-healthy diet. Food is the fuel that runs our body. We'll get out of our bodies exactly what we put into our bodies. The American Heart Association recommends choosing foods low in saturated fat, trans fat, and sodium. As part of a healthy diet, eat plenty of fruits, vegetables, fiber-rich whole grains, fish, nuts, legumes, and seeds. Try getting some meals without meat. Select lower fat dairy products and poultry. Limit sugar-sweetened beverages and red meat. And if you choose to eat meat, select the leanest cuts available. And then get up and get going. I was fairly active for my age, but I was not active enough. My body was used to high levels of exercise, and I simply wasn't getting enough aerobic and anaerobic exercise to keep my heart muscles strong. As a dancer, I had, in my early years, been extremely physically active. As a dance teacher, I spent more time watching and speaking than demonstrating, so I wasn't getting enough exercise. The American Heart Association recommends that you can slowly work up to about 2.5 hours of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity, like brisk walking, every week, or 1 hour and 15 minutes of vigorous intensive aerobic physical activity, like jogging or running, or a combination of both every week. Additionally, on 2 or more days, you need muscle strengthening exercises that work all your major muscle groups: legs, hips, back, abdomen, chest, shoulders, arms. And children need an hour of exercise every day. So, in conclusion, it took a triple bypass to open my eyes to the reality of heart disease. Heart attack and stroke cause 1 in 3 deaths in women every year. I knew something was wrong. I hoped it would self-resolve and go away on its own. It did not. I ignored the onset of symptoms and failed to recognize that my sense of impending doom was my body telling me to seek medical attention. Fortunately, I recognized at least one of my symptoms in time to get the help that saved my life. Although women are routinely told that heart attack symptoms are different for women than men, most women still do not recognize them. For me, the symptoms I experienced were fatigue, shortness of breath, and aching sensation in my jaw. These symptoms lasted for less than 3 minutes each and gradually started to come in shorter intervals, much like labor pains. However, this is atypical. Most people experience these symptoms for longer periods of time. The American Heart Association recommends seeking medical attention if you experience any of the following symptoms. Apart from chest pain, uncomfortable pressure, squeezing, or fullness in the chest, the most common symptoms women experience during a heart attack are pain or discomfort in 1 or both arms, the back, the neck, the jaw, or the stomach, shortness of breath with or without chest discomfort. Other signs such as breaking out in a cold sweat, nausea or lightheadedness, or a feeling of impending doom. But remember, heart disease is an avoidable and reversible condition. By eating a heart-healthy diet and getting adequate exercise, you can live a long and healthy life. Thank you for your time.